All right. We're going to talk about the final phase of creating space. If you noticed on your notes, I filled in all the blank lines from last week. And so all of that is there. And we will, you don't have to go back and try to read your own writing. I even added a couple of other pieces to it. Tonight we're going to go into phase number 2, which is on the back of your notes, if you want to turn them over. And we'll fill in a few blank lines. And first of all, I don't mean to put anybody on the spot, but did last week, for those of you that were here, did last week make sense? Do you understand the concept that anything that we want to exist in our lives has to have the space created for it to be there? I said this when I copyrighted this statement in a lot of the things I've taught, but I've actually legally copyrighted this in my last book. And that is, the greatest hypocrisy amongst human nature is when we want things that are greater than the changes we're willing to make to get them. Write that down somewhere on your page. The greatest hypocrisy of human nature is when we want things that are greater than the changes we're willing to make to get them. I'll say it again. The greatest hypocrisy of human nature is when we want things, specific things, greater than the person we're willing, or the changes we're willing to make, or the person we're willing to become to get them. When we want things greater than the changes we're willing to make to get them. Too much of society lives wanting size 7 reality, and they don't want to stop being a size 3 person to get it. You know, I love this show on HGTV because I love watching HGTV. But it's called Property Brothers, and they fix up homes for people, and they show people that if you have some innovation, you know, they can help people get homes that are fixer-uppers, and they turn into these beautiful homes, but they look like dumps to begin with. But usually on just about every episode, it's kind of funny, but the people don't think it's funny. About every episode, they get the would-be people, you know, they're wanting to buy a new home, and they go, I want this in it, 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 I want this. And so what the Property Brothers do is to kind of bring them down to reality, is they take them into an already beautifully built, renovated home. The people have no idea what the price is. And then when they tour around it, oh, the kitchen is exactly what I want. The bedroom is exactly, the living room is that. They go, okay, how much is the house? Well, the house is usually about $1 million beyond their budget. And then the people get mad. Why did you bring us here? And the Property Brothers tell them straight out, we had to burst your bubble. You want something that you don't qualify for. But we can get this. It's just going to require we make the changes to something that already exists that needs to be renovated. And the people are like, well, I don't see it, I don't see it, I don't see it. Well, at the end, they see it. And then they're all teary-eyed and happy. And it didn't cost them $1 million extra. That's the way we live life. The greatest hypocrisy of human nature is we want things that are greater than the person we're willing to become or the changes we're willing to make to get them. All right. What's the second aspect? What's the second part about creating space? And that's the headline up at the top. I want to talk tonight about annihilating. I know it's supposed to be the 3 stooges, but there's really 4 of underachieving. There's 4 specific things. Annihilate. When I say annihilate, you got to really, really ruthlessly keep them out of your environment. Keep them out of your life. Keep them out of your behavior. Anything, top line, anything that you want to remove. This is the first aspect of creating space. So just fill in the blank on the top here. Anything that you want to remove, you will have to shrink your capacity to handle less of it. This is the first principle tonight of creating space. Anything that you want to remove, you will have to shrink your capacity to handle less of it. Why do companies waste so much? Well, it's easy. They have the capacity to waste much. We have the propensity for, it's like, why do certain companies have so much problem with fraud? They have the capacity to have so much fraud. Ball teams. Why do ball teams have so much mediocrity and have so much self-defeating player personnel? They have the capacity. Anything that you need to remove, you will have to shrink your capacity to handle less of it. You're in a marriage and you don't shrink your capacity to handle less of strife, it's about a matter of time. You might as well get the divorce attorney on speed dial now. You can't shrink your capacity for things wrong in your diet, things wrong in your health. You might as well just... Things function by space. Everything in our life functions by space. All right, let's bring this into the realm of the life of Christ for a moment. Follow his life in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and you will always see him really ruthlessly guarding his space at specific moments. He was in certain space, and he'll guard against distraction. He would guard against things that were he would guard against theological debates with Pharisees. It wasn't that he was above arguing or he was above a good debate. It wasn't that he thought, well, he's just right, even though he did think that. I mean, it's kind of hard not to think that when you're the Son of God, right? It was about, I can't have this stuff in my space. This stuff is taking me in a different direction. Anything you need to remove out of your life, you have to shrink your capacity to handle less of it. How do people overdose? They take too much drugs? Or do they take more than their last threshold point? How many people overdose from doing cocaine one time? How many people overdose from drinking too much? Well, I just read about somebody that died. Well, actually, no. They were just doing the story of Led Zeppelin. And they were talking about how John Bonham died. He drank 40 vodka shots in an hour. 40. He died. The heart stops working. Here's the deal. It wasn't the 40 vodka shots that's the key to the story. It's that somewhere likely his threshold was about 30. Anything. Thank you. Hello. For those of you watching on Facebook right now, never fails. They must think we have these meetings in the worst neighborhood in all the Silicon Valley. Coming to you live from the hood. Anything you want to remove, you have to shrink your capacity to handle less of it. Have you ever shrunk your capacity for certain things and then been exposed to them at some point later? It's almost like you can't handle them. It's like the things, even toxic environments. Let's just say you've been exposed to having lots of space to have lots of toxic people around you, and you shrink the capacity to handle those kinds of dynamics, and then you find yourself, you get around it somewhere at like a wedding or somewhere at a family reunion or somewhere, in something, and it's like your whole system revolts, and you're like, what's going on here? It's like you don't have the threshold. You don't have the capacity. Yes.
What are the property partners?
Property Brothers.
Property Brothers?
Yeah, on HGTV.
HTTV?
HGTV, yeah. Robert, is that all you got out of everything I've just been saying? You just wanted to get the correct spelling of the Property
No, I
Brothers.
did a rehab in Chicago.
Yeah?
I bought downtown Union Park, and it was really an interesting transaction.
Notice your line underneath the main headline. Underline it. What shrinks our space is the opposite of what enlarges it. What shrinks our space is the opposite of what enlarges it. For example, disruptive things only stay in our lives to the degree that we've been built to handle them. Very important to understand. Disruptive things only stay in our life to the degree that we have been built to handle them. Nothing disruptive can leave us until we are no longer. Nothing disruptive should be, is that a, no, that's not a line, a blank line. Nothing disruptive can leave us until we are no longer the same person these things were originally attached to. Nothing disruptive can leave us until we are no longer the same person. This is why, let me just take a little bit of a rabbit trail for a second. This is why issues of forgiveness are very misunderstood. Because people think that I have to, it's like, how do you logically wrap your head around forgiving? Do you just kind of like will it away? I'm hurt, or I'm offended, I'm wounded, I'm betrayed. Someone just, I just, like magic poof. No, the only way, personally for me, maybe you're gifted. I'm not gifted in this area. The only way for me I can successfully forgive certain things is through my own personal growth. In my growth, I'm no longer the same person who was involved in those mishaps, even if I didn't cause them. You and I have a lot of things we didn't cause, but we still have to step it up and grow past, right? That's why people misunderstand forgiveness. It's because it's like, there are days when God gives us the grace to forgive, and then there's days when I just have to do something to where I'm no longer the same person who was attached to that negative experience. Something changed in my perspective, it changed in my conduct, it changed in my character, it changed in my understanding, changed in my boundaries. Something changed, but I'm not the same person.
You said nothing destructive can...
It's right there on your notes. It's right there on your notes.
It is?
Yeah. Nothing disruptive can leave us until we are no longer the same person these things were originally attached to. And nothing that disrupts us ever just goes away because we become better at avoiding it. What does it do? It comes back later and dares us in a more turbulent and costly way to deal with it. Write on your notes, note to self, do not repress the truth of reality. Nothing disruptive ever just goes away because we become better at avoiding it. It comes back later and dares us in a more turbulent and costly way to deal with it. Then we just sound like one of those people who want to justify disorder while complaining over lack. All right, let's get to the raw nitty-gritty of why we're all here tonight. Annihilating the four stooges of underachieving life. Technically, there were four stooges anyway, if you count Shemp. That's an inside one for those of you old enough to have watched the Three Stooges when you were little like me and still love them. Four stooges of underachieving life. You got to annihilate them. You can't pray them away. You have to remove them. For starters, there's complication. Fill that in on your line. There's complication. Complication comes from the need to medicate inferiority. The need to reduce the potential of something small enough so our insecurities can manage it. That's where complication comes from. Complication comes from the need to medicate inferiority. The need to reduce the potential of something down small enough so that our insecurities can manage it. The intentional slowdown of anything bigger than who we are so that the hang-ups that fuel our immaturity can get in control of fear. I'd write an arrow next to that one so you go back over and read it later again. That's how I define when I'm dealing with complicated people. It's the intentional slowdown of anything bigger than who we are so that the hang-ups that fuel our immaturity can get in control of fear. Where's the best place in the New Testament you found complication besides a lot of the religious orders the Apostle Paul had to deal with? You found complication when Jesus described in the book of Mark. He looked at the Pharisees, he said, your traditions and your religion has made the word of God of no effect. He said, how in the world? Jesus was describing the one thing that stopped the entire Bible. He said, your religion and tradition. What did that mean? Your religions and your tradition. The Pharisees always had this pattern of complicating the power and the goodness and the love of God. Jesus would heal a man with a withered hand, except he healed him on the Sabbath. So the Pharisees had to make a big deal about it. Had to make a big deal about it. Do you know that in Newtown, Connecticut, where they just had the massacre just back in December, do you know that one of the clergy that prayed at the prayer vigil that was held, the interfaith prayer vigil that was held on December the 16th, a couple days after the massacre, he belongs to a certain synod of Midwest-based Presbyterian churches. In the constitution of this synod, meaning this group of Presbyterian churches, they have it in their constitution. At no time is any of our ordained ministers permitted to participate or offer prayers or sacraments at any event where other faiths are represented. The Presbyterian pastor in Newtown, Connecticut got reprimanded by his own denomination because he did something that he was not allowed to do within the denomination. Now you've got 26 dead bodies, 20 of which are children in first grade. And you tried to stand there. There was the rabbi, there was other denominations of clergy, there was Catholic, there was Muslim, there was Hindu. You stand there and you're trying to bring a small little hole-in-the-wall town together, and the only thing your sorry-ass denomination can do is reprimand you because you participated. That's called complication. That's If you are a part of anything like that, religiously, family, friends, work, shrink your capacity to handle less of it. You got the whole Catholic Church that can't even explain why on a monthly basis one new case of past sexual abuse cover-up of small children keeps coming out, but they find one of their priests on the beach in Miami with a woman that he's been dating, and they have to completely make a huge smear about that. Thank God the priest left the denomination. He's like, he said, trust me, I've seen what them The rest of you look like she's way hotter than the rest of you. I'll pick a different denomination to be a pastor in. I'm keeping her. The hell with you. Complication. What does complication do? Complication, it medicates inferiority. Am I making sense with anybody? Underline this next statement. With success, the more profitable something becomes, the more simplified it functions. The more profitable something becomes, the more simplified it functions. All right, let me ask you a question back to Jesus. Would you say that the message he taught on how to love one another, love your neighbor as yourself, how to give to one another's needs, bear ye one another's burdens, would you say that it was a simple message? If I've heard it once growing up in church, I've heard it a zillion times. The gospel is so simple. Jesus is so simple. Right. Non-complicated. Not just simple as in see Jack run, see Jack kick the big red ball. Simple as in clear, non-complicated. What was the only battle he had? The only way someone can control something, bring it into their control, is they got to complicate it. Got to complicate it. Have you ever been at a social event, like with friends, and everybody wants to play a game, but there's always that one person that's got to complicate the game because they're bringing the game into what they can control? Have you ever talked with multiple people that you know about doing a multiple like social, like night out, dinner, or going on vacation, and there's always one person that's got to complicate it? Why? What are they doing? They're bringing that into what they can control, because all of us out together, being free, having fun, having a great time, that's beyond, I can't, I don't, how am I going to control that? Got to complicate it. I'm ruthless with complication. Ruthless. All right, secondly, drama. Drama is the second stooge. Drama.
What's the first one?
Complication. Drama. People permit drama. Why? Let's read your notes. People permit drama because of where they're not going in life. People permit drama because of where they're not going in life. Now, I could sit here and spend the rest of the night just talking about all the elements of what drama is, what drama does, but the bottom line for me, and I put this here on your notes, drama is an element of false power, which is another way of describing no power. Remember what Denzel Washington said in the movie American Gangster? When he was rebuking his brothers because they got a little money and they came in all flashy and they had all clothes. He yanked his brother by the collar and he slapped him and he said, "The loudest one in the room is the weakest one in the room." Drama. I pay attention to the person or the people around any environment who create the drama. What are they trying to tell you? They're trying to say, they're waving their hands going, I have no power, but I have to get you to pay attention. I have to absorb your power as a result of my no power. Drama. 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 If you have rude service in a restaurant, I can see you stepping up to the plate and confronting rude service at a restaurant. But because they left off the green beans off your plate and you ordered them, is that really $1 million issue that has to require $1 million attention. But what will you see when you're around people who you would classify as real jackasses in public? They'll sit and berate that poor waiter. They'll sit and I want to talk to a man. I want drama. Drama is a sign of powerlessness.
We get thrown out of a restaurant in Hawaii because of that same problem. The guy he was my friend, and he was berating the waiter, and
Yeah.
they threw him out of the restaurant. They threw us all out of the restaurant.
Well, depending on where you're eating, if they do that, they don't throw you out. They beat the hell out of you and then call the ambulance on your behalf. Drama. Somebody tell me how Jesus would deal with demon-possessed people in his ministry walking on the earth. What would he do when demons manifested? Tell them to shut up. What do you see when you see like Bob Larson and some of these other yahoos? They talk to them like they're circus monkeys. What's your name? Who the gives a rip what the devil's name is? I already know his name. I have went home so many nights, or went back to my hotel room and actually had conversations with the devil, apologizing to him on behalf of stupid, shallow, dramatic, loving Christian people. I'm sorry that they paraded you around like a monkey tonight. I'm sorry that they blamed you for this, and this. Drama. Demons would manifest in Jesus' time, and Jesus was like, be quiet. That's not what the issue is. Shut up. Don't talk. This is not your platform. Drama. Drama divides. It takes you backwards.
Yes, it is.
It takes you backwards. There are people that cannot do anything or go anywhere unless there is a hailstorm of unnecessary attention that surrounds it. So what does this have to do with creating space? Got to shrink space for complication and shrink space for drama. Have you ever had somebody solve a problem on the fly? Maybe it was a problem that just arose immediately, and they solved it on the fly. Maybe against the rule book. I remember I believed I was completely innocent for a speeding ticket I got like several years ago. I was still living in Minnesota. And I was going to go have my day in court, and the way I go in there, and the court gets backlogged with other things that are a little bit more pressing. And the DA that's on hire, he's doing all these things. He just looks at me, looks at my file. He goes, look here. If you really want your day in court, technically I have to give it to you. But I'll do this, this, and this if you'll just go bye-bye. I said, there you go. See, I was coming in there because I did really want to be heard. I didn't like the way that the particular officer handled how he handled. But the reality is I also possibly would have not got certain things dismissed about it had I wanted my day in. He went outside the rule book a little bit, and I was like, you know what? Make that go away, that go away. We're good? We're good? Everybody good? Okay, bye. No drama. All right. Thirdly, I want to talk about an issue called consistency. There is inconsistency as the third stooge. Inconsistency. Inconsistency. Oh, by the way, go visit like Matthew 5, Matthew 6, Matthew 7. Jesus starts describing the Pharisees as how dramatic they get to draw attention to their spirituality. They fast, they don't wash their faces. When they pray so loud they want everybody to hear them. They want to be known for their repetition. What was he describing? How that the Pharisees were so insecure because they were such powerless people. They created drama to draw attention to their spirituality. Westboro Baptist Church. I better not say their name too loud. They'll be suing me. Because I'm sure they have Facebook filters on every time they're named. All they do, they're just trying to draw attention to themselves. It's not about what they're really concerned about God's judgment. They really want attention on themselves. That's drama. We're going to show up at this funeral and protest. That's just drama. Absolute drama. They better be careful, because the president's got power over who he can order drone strikes on. I saw that one today. I was like, okay, well, I've got some people I can email the president. Inconsistency. How do we define it here? Inconsistency is the only leverage that we give our limitations and our enemies. Underline that statement. Inconsistency is the only leverage that we give our limitations and our enemies. Inconsistency.
The only leverage?
It's right there. That's why I sat Lourdes next to you, Robert. Let's fill in some blank lines.
Okay.
Nothing that produces a successful result happens occasionally. Nothing that produces a successful result happens occasionally. Success is a result of what happens habitually.
Habitually?
Habitually. For example, Jesus, as was his custom, went in the temple daily to offer prayers. Custom, daily, custom, daily, custom. Daniel opened his windows 3 times a day. David prayed 7 times a day. And now I'm not even using these analogies to try to like say it's about prayer and spirituality. Jennifer Aniston, I just read her workout regimen yesterday. She works out 5 days a week and then does yoga 3 days a week. One of those days she does Pilates in addition to her workout. Habitual. What are the foods that have to habitually be in your diet? What are the breaks? What are the mental breaks, physical breaks that need to consistently be in your week? What's the exercise, the regimen has to be in your week? When you can decide what belongs in your week, you can decide what belongs in your day. And if you can control a day, and more than one day in a row, you can rule the world. Because life is just a collection of days. That's all it is. What you do in a day controls what you do in a life. Habitually versus occasionally. You've heard me tell this story before. People close to Elvis would say that in like a week or 2 weeks before he's scheduled to go on tour, he'd start overdosing on eating grapefruit, thinking that if you eat enough grapefruit, it eats fat. Well, no, it doesn't. You actually will die of acidic poisoning before you get slim. But he believed that. So instead of investing in, well, I don't even know if they had treadmills back in the 70s. They had something. But instead of doing certain things, he would crash, binge, trying to look 5 pounds lighter in his white jumpsuit. Habitually. Mark the things that happen habitually. They don't have to be a long list. But inconsistency is the greatest leverage you'll ever give your limitations and your enemies. It's the greatest leverage. Lastly, disorder. Disorder is the fourth stooge. Disorder. At the same time you're listing your highest priorities for 2013, I hope you are writing out your tenets of conduct against clutter, against disorder. Disorder drains energy. It saps it. Because order is energy. And I'm not talking about, well, it's not my personality to be a neat freak. Stop blaming disorder on a personality trait, or order for that matter. Well, some people are neat freaks. I understand OCD. I counsel people with OCD. I got kids who have OCD. They're 2.5 and 3.5. And there's certain things that have to happen a certain way, or they throw tantrums. And so I try my best to navigate around that. But the reality is our worst characteristics are not personality traits, they're decisions. And the decisions to improve are every bit as easy as the decisions to ignore. Disorder. Disorder defines movement. It suffocates movement. Order is a gift, not a decision. It's not a gift, it's a decision. Look at the line next to the word disorder where you filled in your blank line. Look at what it says. Our system for life says how fast we can move and how vast our space for movement is. Our system for life says how fast we can move and how vast our space for movement is. Declare war on clutter wherever you need to. If it's clutter in your checkbook, clutter in your finances, clutter in your house, clutter in your filing system, clutter in your most sensitive, needed information, clutter in your closet, clutter in your car, clutter. Any place clutter is, energy is being drained, exhausted, extracted. Any place that clutter is, declare war on clutter. Declare war on it. Have some type of systematic order for even the most basic things in your life, and watch the energy that happens. Watch the sense of focus that changes around. I wish there was some deep spiritual meaning to it, but you know what? Let me say it to you like this. Some days the only way we get provoked to make certain crucial changes is when we attempt to go to the next level and can't. Some days the only motivation we get to make some of the most pivotal changes is when we attempt to go to the next level and can't. Trust me, I only appreciated clutter when I'd go visit my grandmother's house. Because you knew inside of her clutter, she had change in various different spots of the house. And it wasn't there because she put it there for us to find. It was there because it's just clutter. You just knew you were going to find something in the clutter. You knew if you snuck into her pocketbook and rooted through there long enough with all the clutter that was in her pocketbook, you were going to find candy. You just knew it. But then when it became clutter in my life, I kept wondering why. Clutter makes you hostile. Disorder makes you hostile. These are the things that drain. They make you hostile. You don't need it. All right. Last statement. You'll want to underline this. It says closing mantra. Then I want to hear some feedback from some of you. Closing mantra. We only value our space to the degree that we value ourselves and value our purpose in life. Underline that, circle it, write a picture of a happy face of you next to it. I'm not saying that because it's the most profound thing I think you've ever heard. I'm just saying this is what it all comes down to. We only value our space to the degree that we value ourselves and value our purpose in life. What is tolerable in our esteem is tolerable in our space. What is tolerable in our esteem and tolerable in our work is going to be tolerable in our space. When you find somebody, I'm not even saying you, just reflect on somebody who you know that allows a lot of what you consider to be very toxic negativity or dynamics of even other people in their environment. And you're going, why in the world won't they stand up? Why in the world won't they say something? Why in the world won't they put their foot down? Why in the world? And you get mad at them because they're not getting mad. What you're seeing is someone who doesn't value themselves. Their tolerance problem is based on their esteem problem. And the fact that because you say, well, they don't value their purpose. No, trust me, you can't achieve a purpose you don't value yourself in. I don't achieve goals bigger than how I see myself. How did David beat Goliath? He never saw himself as small. The reason he didn't see Goliath as big is because David never saw himself as small. He had the Joe Pesci complex. You ever watch Joe Pesci in the gangster movie? He's always the one killing people. He's got guys 3 times his size. And Joe Pesci's, swinging up. Just doesn't even skip a beat. Here's what I'm trying to say to you. You will never achieve goals bigger than how you see yourself. And I'm not saying get stuck on yourself. This is not a vanity building seminar. What I'm saying is you have to believe you're worth the success you've been gifted and brought to such a time as this to accomplish. Or else, how will you protect your space? How will you protect your space? I protect my space to the degree that I value myself and I value my purpose in life. Any of these 4 stooges that you willfully allow to convolute everything that you're doing is proof of what you don't value. So I'll let that choice be yours. Feedback, questions. Where do some of you see yourself? Where do some of you see yourselves in any of this? Oh yeah. I want to hear some of your feedback on Facebook. Email me questions or message me on Facebook. Either go to the cause page or go to my page, jKonrad Hula, and say, hey, yeah, I'm listening to this, and here's my question, or here's my feedback, or send me your email. I'll send you a copy of the notes. I'll email them to you. Where are some of you see yourselves in any of this? Did you get something tonight? Questions? Please don't tell me I teach so wonderfully I answer all your questions. Or I'm going to teach horrible next week just so you'll ask more.
I think the last step for me, I personally understood what you were talking about already. Like I grasped the concept of disorder and its relationship to energy. But I was kind of in a phase where I didn't know what's next or what stooge to take on. But I think definitely I have to work next on consistency and creating habits. Like the fact that you said, what happens in the week. I've never planned my week.
Mm-hmm.
And thinking of it now, if I can plan my week, I can plan the days of what I want to take on what day.
Yeah.
And so that I can control the day. I think that's a big.
Greatness is an appointment. Greatness is an appointment. You should make appointments with greatness every week, even every day. Because It's not something that you fit into your life. It's something you make an appointment with, or you keep going, you know what, I was going to do that this week, okay, next week, the next week. Next week just keeps on like on automatic recycle. Greatness is an appointment. Anybody else?
I'm going to clean my office tomorrow.
Awesome. Awesome. I always know when I'm stuck mentally or I'm stuck emotionally, I'm stuck in something. I'm dealing with a rut because clutter emerges. And sometimes I got to restructure or retweak the same information 5 different ways, but I have to do it just to get a new sense of energy. All I've done is spelled the same word in 5 different languages, but you know what? By spelling it in another language, it's okay, yep, we're moving again. Anybody else?
What I wrote down is one of the hard things to do is the habits. You want to succeed with doing things that's habitual. That means you have to form new habits.
Right.
And we got new because of old habits.
Right. And you don't get rid of old habits. You replace them. They're like patterns. You have to replace, not remove. Light replaces dark when we enter a room, if we turn on the switch. Very good. Anybody else?
Even my teacher today shared on habits from a work perspective, and it applies to life, period. He said the same thing. He said, you know, a lot of your personnel have old bad habits. And he said, they don't go away. You just have to make the new habit, the good habit, a louder voice. Those were his exact words today.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. It's life, period.
Yeah. Thank you for being here. Father, in Jesus' name, I pronounce and decree blessing, increase and abundance, clarity, direction, insight. Where there's conflict and resistance, let answers emerge. Let clarity emerge. Let insight replace confusion. Father, change something about the way we think after tonight that is the entryway, the gatekeeper to whole new seasons of refreshing. Financial refreshing, relationship refreshing, innovation refreshing, entrepreneurialism, dreams and our goals. In Jesus' name, I pronounce and decree this. Amen.